So, after the Vancouver Canucks lost against the Buffalo Sabres in regulation late Thursday night, you had Elliotte Friedman publish a written 32 Thoughts article that dives into everything we know about Quinn Hughes and the Canucks. You can see on the timestamp here, 1:26 a.m. in the morning. This, of course, is Eastern time zone, so minus 3 hours and you get 10:26 p.m. shortly after Vancouver lost another one to Buffalo at home, after a jersey was thrown onto the ice, and after polls and questions started arising in this fan base as to whether or not we are done supporting this franchise. Spoiler alert. You can take the fun out of loving the Vancouver Canucks, but you're never going to take the loving the Vancouver Canucks out of the fun. Wait, does that even make sense? No, it doesn't. I'm here for the long haul. I'm 25 years old. I've been a fan of this team since I was 10, 11 years old. So I kind of have a commitment already, emotionally, to this hockey club. So even though they lost yesterday, we still have to dive into everything that Elliotte Friedman is writing about, and because there's been so much conversation about this team the past little while, I think we might have to double dip. We gotta make a video about the Red Wings, and then we gotta make a video about the Canucks again, because there are just too many things to dive into with this team. But this video was going to ignore all the standings talk and all the losing talk. Let's just talk about Vancouver Canucks captain Quinn Hughes and what Elliotte Friedman, at the very least, knows about the situation. The best part is, this is 32 Thoughts, so after the entire spiel about Quinn Hughes at the beginning, there are 32 other thoughts that are going out there and transcribing themselves here. So, of course, I'll leave a link in the description if you want to go out there and read 32 Thoughts from last night, but this is where Friedman starts everything out. Let's open with a few thoughts on Quinn Hughes, everything I think I know, and admissions on what I don't. We are here sooner than expected. Back at the NHL and NHLPA media tour in Las Vegas, Quinn Hughes deflected questions about his future, stating his sole concern was getting off to a good start. Everyone, including both Hughes and the Canucks, thought that we would see how the season went and go from there. Unfortunately, the Canucks aren't anywhere near where they had hoped, and recently let teams know they were willing to discuss their veterans. That wasn't supposed to be about Hughes, but as Brian Burke said in 2005 after not realizing Joe Thornton's availability until too late, if you snooze, you lose. So teams asked. Rutherford's reputation for moving early put other GMs on alert. Plus, you don't want to move your best assets elsewhere if Hughes is what you crave. Before they were really prepared to, the Vancouver Canucks had to consider an acquisition cost, and Hughes had to wrap his head around the fact that he might not finish the season in the Lower Mainland. There were rumors that Hughes informed the Canucks last summer he wouldn't re-sign, but this has been ferociously denied by multiple sources. I don't think he was expecting this when the puck dropped in October. So, there are a number of things from this opening segment of the article. Firstly, hey, Vancouver is not where they wanted to be. They're literally last in the NHL by a significant margin now. We'll get into that more in the later videos in today's show. But then also, you have this rumor about Quinn potentially saying to Vancouver that he would not sign again with this team. That has been denied by multiple sources, so it does seem like it's false. Now, when it comes to the actual trade, Friedman asks, when will this happen? This is what I'm at least certain about, Friedge said. Van has to get this right. I've heard the ask is very high, as it should be. One exec told me it's outrageous. I replied, probably not outrageous enough. He laughed. A young, impactful center is very important to the Vancouver Canucks. A deal is not impossible without one, but it will require something special to offset that desire. I got a few notes wondering if Detroit was hiding Marco Kasper Monday in Vancouver as a winger, but as a lefty, he split face-offs with righty Nate Danielson, depending on where it is. In that game, Kasper took 6 and Danielson 4. It's not impossible that the Vancouver Canucks wait until the draft, preferring no deal than a bad deal. But all of this noise exists for a reason. Talks are underway. That is an interesting idea. Were the Detroit Red Wings hiding Marco Kasper, making him less important on the ice so that Vancouver doesn't really think he's that good? I don't know. You can be the judge of that. Friedge then asks the question, who's in this? I always believe there are teams that I don't see. This is Quinn Hughes, for goodness sakes. Who wouldn't want him? New Jersey is obvious. I've been on Detroit for a while. Washington is around, but I don't think the Canucks can snare the Capitals' best young players. I know there have been suggestions about the Rangers, but I don't see the trade match. Philadelphia doesn't have the center, so what else can the Flyers come up with? Cough, cough. Matvei Mishkov. Friedge said he mentioned Pittsburgh, but a few sources poo-pooed this brainstorm. There's a team that he assumes always tries, in Carolina. But this, however, ignores the entire Western Conference. You know who has a lot of picks and prospects? Utah. Oh boy. So that seems to be the list as it stands right now. The Devils, the Red Wings, the Capitals, the Rangers, the Flyers, the Penguins, the Hurricanes, the Utah Mammoth, and these are all along a spectrum of varying degrees of maybe to absolutely in there. New Jersey is like the only obvious team, considering the fact that they had already spoken about Quinn Hughes trade talks. That was confirmed by Friedman last weekend. But Utah. Caleb Desnoyers? Logan Cooley? Dylan Guenther? I don't know. The question next is, how much say does Hughes have in this entire conversation? This is a multi-layered question, Friedman says. Hughes does not have no trade or no move protection. Therefore, the Canucks can trade him anywhere they wish, and have indicated they are prepared to do just that. While it's believed that Hughes prefers East long-term, the Canucks could send him West if one of those teams stepped up and took a chance. Of course, there's no tampering in the NHL, but you can be certain any landing spot will want an idea if it appeals to the 2024 Norris winner. A few teams believe Washington, depending on the price, would consider a 2-year stay, because there'd be something very special about another Stanley Cup run while Ovechkin remains a Capital. Now that is a super interesting idea as well. Trade for Quinn Hughes, but then re-sign him only to a 2-year deal for 27-28 and 28-29, because the Capitals' perspective is, hey, we still got Ovi. Yes, he's 40-plus years old, but he is still a really good goal scorer. He is one of the best in the league still, and as long as he continues past 900, he works his way up to 1,000. If Ovi is competitive, this team is competitive. And with Chychrun and Jacob, I almost said Jacob Karlsson, John Karlsson, and Quinn Hughes all in the mix, this Washington Capitals team with the development of guys like Protas and McMichael, assuming they stay with the organization, this could be a really big opportunity to go for another Stanley Cup with Ovi. He wins his first one in 2018, and then maybe he wins his next one in 2028 or whatever. That's crazy. A 10-year gap in the second half of his NHL career. Then you scroll down and read this. What are the wild card teams? Friedman goes out there and asks. Again, I always ask myself what I don't see. There's one option that we haven't considered. The Canucks cannot extend Hughes until July 1st, but nothing prevents them from talking to him. They could promise 8 years at a monster number. It would require Hughes committing for a few more years, with the understanding that if he doesn't like what he sees at a certain point, he would be moved. On September 15th, 2026, new CBA contract rules kick in, with maximum term dropping to 7 years and tighter limits on bonus payments. You would think that if Hughes is traded, he would get an extension before then, but it's not guaranteed. And if Vancouver holds into him next year, he might not get one until the rules change. My only question is if this would work. Hughes might not get what the Canucks are willing to do somewhere else, but he's still going to be handsomely paid. If he doesn't believe in what's around him, I don't see this working. A lot of variables, no doubt. Which path is really the Canucks' choice? So that's a nice vanilla type of write-up on Quinn Hughes and the situation. I don't want to say that anything new particularly is presented here, but it's nice to just have a holistic view of how everything looks at the moment, mushed together and presented in one package, so it's easier for everybody who hasn't been caught up to understand and digest all the information at once. So with that in mind, with all this info being spoon-fed to us on a big platter, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the latest on the Quinn Hughes trade talks, how the Flyers, Red Wings, Penguins, Rangers, Capitals could all be in there. Do the Utah Mammoth have a case? Let me know in the comments all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. 99 article is going to be linked in the description. And bye.